Hello, Kyle here. I am here to review Volume 2 of Stranger Things Season 4. It's been a long time coming. Not that long, given that in between Volume 1 and 2, it's only been about a month. But in overall, the season itself, it's been a long time coming to get this season finally out there and finished. And man, I love this season. I love this finale. I thought that it was a wonderful closing chapter of this interesting season that was very reminiscent of like Nightmare on Elm Street and slasher films, while also being still true to the Stranger Things story and true to the characters of Stranger Things. I think that it's quite incredible how these actors, very much like Harry Potter, have all progressed into great young actors, because sometimes I think that child actors, when they get older, they might not look the same, but at the same time, I think there's still the worry that, they may not be as good as they were as a child. And if anything, the kids, well, more so the adults in this show now, are even better than they were when they started. Millie Bobby Brown, in particular in these episodes, she as 11 is really like at her peak. She really is commanding the screen, and she has a lot of great dramatic material in the 8th episode and the 9th episode. But I think even more so in the finale, the 9th episode, we really get to see Millie, I think, reach out in her acting capabilities. Another actress in this show that I really love is Sadie Sink, who, if you thought Sadie Sink was great in the first half, the first volume of Season 4, she is just as good in this volume. And I'm so happy that we got back to Max in this storyline, because I felt almost like the end of Volume 1 was starting to move away from Max, and it felt like in the beginning of the Volume 1, up to around episode 4, it was like Max centered. So it was great to see Max become more of the focus of this final 2-episode arc, instead of her, in the last couple of episodes prior to this, she was more still like one of the background characters, less about being the main focus like she kind of was in the beginning of Volume 1. But to recap just kind of what is going on in Volume 2, last volume we found out that Vecna was number 1, and he was a young boy that was like the first testing in Brenner's Institute and lab that they were working on, and then it turned out like Vecna was basically a psychopath, and then he was going around killing all the kids, and then 11 pushed Vecna into the Upside Down, and it turned Vecna into the form that we now know him as. And then in this particular volume, it's mostly focused on 11 still stuck in like Brenner's lab, but her trying to escape, and also it's focused on them planning to kill Vecna. So Nancy, Nancy, Steve, Eddie, Dustin, Lucas, Max, and they all are planning on killing Vecna. And then there's the third storyline in this season, which is Hopper, Joyce, and the crew in Russia. Now, I think if we're talking about the 3 storylines of this season, I think the Hopper one may have been my least favorite, because I think the thing about that one was that it felt like it was a little bit too stretched out. Like, I feel like they could have done less of it, but at the same time, I kind of wanted a little bit more of Hopper in Russia, if that made, like, I wanted to learn more about Hopper and his experience in Russia, but, like, it felt like, especially with Murray and Joyce and Yuri, like, going to Russia there, that was, I think, a little stretched out. And I think that the 11 stuff, though it is really interesting, like, I think it was cool to see, like, the flashbacks and how she kind of became 11. The issue I had with it was that they kind of grabbed, like, the main character of the series in 11, and they stuck her in this facility for, like, the entire season. I was so happy in the first episode of Volume 2 that they released, which is episode 8. Near the end of it, she escapes. So I was glad to see that. But I feel like there are things in this season. It's not a perfect season by any means. I will say that Season 4 is probably my third favorite season of this show. Season 3 is my favorite. Season 1's my second favorite. Season 4 is my third favorite. And then Season 2 is down at the bottom as my least favorite. But Season 4, it's still a great season. It's just that I think it was a season that kind of was drawn out a bit too much. And there were moments in this show that I think they could have cut out. But I really do think that it was great to see more of, you know, the Upside Down as this horror element where they're actually going into the Upside Down. And we got to see, like, a lot of these characters, like Nancy, like Dustin, they're really becoming, like, these commandos ready in battle gear. Like, I feel like they could fight, you know, Thanos' army at this point on how, you know, skilled they are. Even Robin in this episode, she was throwing, like, a Molotov cocktail. So, like, they're all getting pretty prepared for anything that comes in their way. I love seeing the whole crew vibe together. I just love the Steve Harrington character. I know a lot of people have that as a fan favorite, but Steve is such a well-developed and I think really fleshed out character that really one can relate to. And it's miraculous how they got the character from season 1 and they've progressed into this point, because you don't really see that in a lot of TV shows. A character so kind of hated in season 1 and now kind of liked. He's in a way like the Loki of Stranger Things. But what I do like, though, is they are setting up like a relationship between Nancy and Steve here. The difference is, like, a lot of people I've seen criticize it, saying, oh no, Nancy and Steve are going to get back together. Oh, Jonathan's jealous. I did like seeing Steve say to her that, you know, if we met now, our relationship would be different. And I'm glad that you dumped me because, you know, that was the best dump I ever had. And I needed it and it made me change as a person. And I think that's a really great message that one can send, because it can show you that when people are in relationships, they sometimes aren't meant to be in relationships at the time that they are in the relationship, and it's always a learning experience. And in the case of Steve and in the case of Nancy, I like how Steve says that, you know, I've now grown, I'm a different person. And I do like seeing like that type of character arc. I don't know, you know, if Steve and Nancy get back together, I don't know how I'll feel about that, but that's like a issue for another day. I think we're reaching around the 10-minute mark here, so I'm going to kind of go into a little bit of spoiler territory. And I think I'm just going to start off with like the deaths, because the deaths in this season were really moving. I really did like the way they killed off Dr. Brenner, because I like seeing just a man that truly believes he's doing good, and yet he isn't. And Eleven doesn't say, "I forgive you, Papa." She doesn't do that. She lets him go and walks away. And I thought that was a very empowering scene. The death of Eddie. The death of Eddie was quite emotional. I didn't know how to feel about Eddie this whole season. I didn't know what to think of him. But it was the finale where I finally was like, that's the character they wanted to, tell the story of. And I can see it now. And I really do like Eddie. And him saying to Dustin, never change, stick up for the little guys, be their leader, was really, really moving. It makes me wonder if Eddie, in a way, was like a Steve substitute, where this scene where Eddie is dying, may have originally been intended for Steve, even earlier on in the concept of the show, like maybe back in season 2, they said, hey, what if we have a scene like this with Steve? Because Eddie in this season kind of became the Steve to Dustin that Steve used to be. But Steve was still here. Eddie was kind of like the more geekier version of Steve. So I really thought that was a moving scene. But what really made that scene so special was they played this song. I think it's from Moby. I forgot the name of the song. And it was a beautifully moving song. And in the song, it transitions from Eddie's death to Max's death. And I can tell you this, I don't think there's ever been a TV show death that I've been more emotionally impacted by. Because I think the thing is when it comes to these types of deaths and the way that they kill off characters, it's very hard for me to think of a child being killed like this, because I can only think of Avengers Infinity War, where they killed off Spider-Man when Thanos snapped his fingers. But I can't really think of another situation where like a child was killed and they're basically saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to die. And the difference between this and Infinity War was Infinity War, you knew Spider-Man would come back. You knew that there's a Spider-Man movie coming out the year after this movie was released. I legitimately thought that Max was dead. I had predicted that she would die when they had the letters. And I was like, well, the letters are going to have to be read. And I'm still waiting for them to read those letters, because I can't see how they wrote a whole plot point in this show about her writing letters to say to all of her friends when she goes. And yet they never tell you the letters, especially the one for Lucas, because I still feel like there's something about her and Lucas that we still need to know a little bit more about. We need to know a little bit more about their relationship. Them talking about, going on a date to the movies. That was really cute, but I feel like there is still some things left unsaid. And I would assume next season, hopefully they do read the letters, but if she does survive next season, I am wondering what they're gonna do, because something tells me that she still will die next season, and that her her consciousness will be the thing that will last and say goodbye to them. But I'm thinking maybe too much of like the Arrowverse and not Stranger Things. I don't know how they'll do it, but I really do like how this story ended. I love seeing Hopper reunite with Eleven. That was one of my favorite scenes in this episode. The action was terrific, and it was filled with a lot of suspense where you really didn't know who was going to live or die. And I applaud I think it was the Duffer Brothers that said there would be a body count, because I legit expected at least 4 characters to be killed. We had Brenner, we had Eddie, we had Jason, and who was the other one? I feel like there was another character that was killed. But then, of course, you had Max, but it's hard to say if she counts. If I had a place to bet, and if I had my theory saying that Max would die, she did die. She died for 1 minute. So, I don't know how that works, but I'm looking forward to season 5. I really don't know what they're going to do. I'm looking forward to see if, they kind of wrap it up in a nice bow, because series finales are really tough. And when it comes to series finales, I feel like a bad series finale can sometimes be the worst thing for a TV show. Bad series finales sometimes completely write off the TV series. There are some shows like Seinfeld and some others that have terrible series finales, but the show still lasts and are still popular. But I feel like if you don't, nail the ending, it sometimes hurts the show. It hurts what people think of the show. So hopefully that they do a great job with the ending, because to be honest, I think that all 4 seasons actually of this show have had great season finales. So we'll see what they do with season 5. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'm probably one of the first people to watch this. I'm not one of the first people to upload it, because I think I did a bit of a rewatch after too, so I kind of watched it 2 times. When I rewatched it, I didn't watch the whole thing again. I just watched certain scenes again. But I woke up at 3 in the morning to watch this show. So that was a lot of fun. So let me know. Did you watch Stranger Things? What did you think? What do you think of season 5? Are you excited for it? And how much did you cry when you thought that Eddie and Max had died? So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.